so much for joining
Mhm.
us.
Mhm.
We are going to maybe give it another minute because we have a lot of good information that we are going to share, and we want to make sure that everyone has the time to ask questions as well as our presenters to provide the information that they have. So I will give it just another minute because I know that there's some others that are going to be joining. And Rosin, I was so happy you resent the link this morning because I was like, I don't have it. So it worked out well. All right, so we're at 11:01, so we are going to get started. Thank you, Rosalind, as I know you're going to be pulling up the slides that we have this morning. But before we get started, just a little bit of kind of housekeeping. We love to see your faces so much. So if you are able, we know that everyone is not able, but if you are able to have your cameras on, we are a community here. We would love to have your faces. Use this chat to share any insights if you have questions. We're going to leave time in between speakers to provide opportunities for you to ask questions and for our speakers to give answers. If there's any aha moments that you have, anything that you want to put in the chat, please do. Now, I do want to disclaim that this is for entertainment purposes only, although we have medical professionals, nurse practitioners, and doctors of nursing in the room. It is not specific to your situation. And so we are going to just want you to know that this is for entertainment purposes only, but it is going to be chock full of really good information. Why are we having this webinar? I think it's important for us to just kind of share. We are intentionally having this webinar, Menopause in the Workplace, really understanding, supporting, and thriving together. And we're doing it during Women's History Month, which is in March. It's almost over, if you can believe it. April 1st is next week. But this month has been observed as Women's History Month since 1987. And so, who am I? I am Renee Scott. I am co-founder of DPI. We are, and when I say we, Rosalind Rice, who is going to be sharing a little bit with us a little bit later. We are the co-founders of DPI. We have been in existence for 5 years. We just celebrated 5 years as a business together. And what we do is we empower businesses and community leaders by providing them with resources and accountability. And we bring calm to chaos. That's what we do. And we help businesses and entities go further faster. Now, this next slide, you're going to see the number 44%. And you may wonder, what does that number mean? So, menopause is a universal experience for women. I don't care what country you sit in, I don't care what space you sit in. This is a universal experience for women. And a record number of women are entering menopause daily. So, did you know that 44% of all working women are navigating menopause? 44%. And you may not realize that so many of us are suffering in silence. We're battling symptoms like hot flashes, which is just one symptom, night sweats, mood changes, sleep disturbances, brain fog, exhaustion, and depression, all while we are managing our careers, our families, our teams, and our businesses. Lisa, you call them power surges. I call them private summers. Whatever name you have given this little thing that takes place in our bodies that creates nothing but a desire for us to get cool, 44% of us are dealing with it. Now, let's talk dollars and cents. On our next slide, 1.8 billion, according to Mayo Clinic, 1.8 billion in annual cost of lost productivity. Menopause isn't just a personal journey, it is a workplace workplace reality. And that's why we are coming here in this space for this, because for US women aged 45 to 60 years old, there's some lost productivity because of what's taking place in our bodies. If you're a business owner, if you're a leader, if you're an HR professional, a colleague, understanding menopause can help you support your team and create a more inclusive work environment. I don't know if we have any guys on the webinar today, but even if you are a guy, you could be sitting next to, you could be managing, leading, partnering with a woman that is experiencing menopause. So, with that, that's kind of sets the groundwork. With that, and this is what I want to ask before I introduce Barika, because Rosin and I were kind of laughing. I have a fan next to me. I have an even bigger fan on my left side. If you have a fan anywhere in your proximity, either show it or put it in the chat. I've got one in my handbag. Okay, so Dr. Shay has one, Rosin has one, I have one. We got to normalize these fans hanging out with us. I have named mine. Her name is Wendy. And Wendy goes with me everywhere. And if Wendy is not with me, it is normally not going to be a good situation for those that are with me. So I see Lisa, you said I have them all. I'm sure there's others in the chat that are just posting. Rosa, are there some other people saying they've got their fans as well?
Lisa's like, I have them all, just forgot to bring them with me. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All right. So let me introduce Barika Harris. She is the co-founder of Alignment Healthcare Services. So she is an entrepreneur just like we are, but she's also let me just share. Alignment Healthcare Services is a home health agency that she built alongside her husband that provides skilled and non-skilled care in the home in the Central Florida area. She also serves as a women's health nurse practitioner at 26 Health, bringing 19 years of experience caring for women. She has a personal connection to perimenopause, navigating these changes in her own life, in her own body, which fuels her passion for supporting other women that are going through this transition. Barika's goal is simple. It is to help every woman feel more like herself, empowered, understood, and supported so she can thrive in all areas of her life, including the workplace. And so, Barika, take it away. If
Had
you're
to take
speak,
myself off of mute.
yes,
Sorry.
I was like about to say, if you're talking, you're on mute.
But thank you so much, Renee. Thank you so much, Rosalind, for having me today. We have a lot of information to cover when it comes to menopause. So last time we did this, I ran out of time. So I want to delve right straight into the information. And if you guys have questions, but I'm going to be focusing on like the what is happening in our bodies when we're going through perimenopause, menopause. And so we can understand that. If we understand that, then we understand how we need to approach it when it comes to management options. So understanding the cause of menopause, exploring what the estrogen does across our body systems, connecting the biology of menopause into the real workplace challenges, and do a brief overview of treatment and management options. But Dr. Shay is definitely going to cover that more in depth, and also how to find a qualified menopause health provider in your area. So, what is menopause? So, menopause, we always coin the term, oh, I'm going through menopause, this and that. But actually, menopause is defined as one day. That's the day that you go 12 consecutive months without a menstrual period. And that one day is signified as menopause. Okay. So, everything you experience prior to those 12 months, you're in perimenopause or premenopause. And then once you hit that 12 months with no menstrual cycle, then you are now post-menopausal. Okay. So the perimenopause phase can happen. It's different for everyone. We've seen women start perimenopause as early as the late 30s into the early 40s. But the average age is between 45 to 55. Okay, and then menopause is average age 51. And then postmenopause is like all those years ongoing after you go those 12 consecutive months. Next slide. So let's talk about the biology behind menopause and understanding the cause before we can address the treatment. So there's 4 different ways that you can kind of transition into this area. It's not all just from a natural aging and getting older, which is one of the ways we enter menopause. Our estrogen levels in our body kind of starts to rise as we hit adolescence, and then we hit puberty and we start our period and our estrogen levels creep up into our late 20s, and then it kind of basal levels out, and then once we hit like the later 30s, then it starts to make that decline. So that's the natural progression. But women can also enter menopause through surgical. If you have a hysterectomy, if you've had your ovaries removed, that will put you into a menopausal state. Premature ovarian failure. So that's the medical term, but it's basically early menopause. And I will take a step to say this is what I experienced personally myself. I started experiencing perimenopausal symptoms at the age of 37. And for me, it was a challenge because I didn't think that was going on in my body. I just thought I was too young. So that can be a challenge for a lot of women, because sometimes in the beginning, you think the stress or the anxiety or the lack of sleep or the decreased sex drive is just related to work, or I'm juggling a lot with family. I have these kids. I'm taking them to baseball practice and I'm trying to work and be successful at my job. And you think it's just that, but I always tell my patients, you know your body and listen to your body. But we'll touch on that a little bit more later. And then also there's medical ways you can enter into menopause if you've had chemotherapy, radiation, or have any medications that can cause damage to the ovaries, because ovaries are those gonads that release estrogen into the body. So when we talk about estrogen and how it plays a role in our body, without getting too scientific, we have this hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis. So everything is coming from the brain and the hindsight. So we have a hypothalamus that stimulates the pituitary gland, which in turn signals our ovaries to release these hormones in our body, estrogen and progesterone. So that's essentially what this slide is saying. It's all a part of an axis. And if something is disrupted in that axis, something is defaulted, then that's where you get that hormonal imbalance, not just in menopause, but in other factors of women that have irregular menstrual cycles, irregular periods, PCOS, different things like that. It's all a part of this axis. So why estrogen matters so much in our body? And, it's not just relating to our menstrual period. It controls just about every organ or just about every function in our bodies, not just our menstrual cycle, but it controls regulate serotonin and dopamine in our brain. So that's why you get the brain fog and the anxiety and the depression during this phase. Our heart vessels. A lot of people don't understand how much estrogen plays a role in heart disease. So if patients that going through early menopause or have a surgical where they may have had to have their ovaries removed early on in life, it's very important that we replace that estrogen to protect their heart, not just because of the hot flashes of the night sweats. We're trying to protect your heart. We're trying to keep your cholesterol levels under control. We're trying to protect your bones, because estrogen plays a role in our production of the density of our bones. So when you lose that estrogen, it increases risk for osteoporosis, which can lead to, if you fall and make a simple fall, you can get a fracture. Also, the hypothalamic thermostat, so that's where the vasomotor symptoms come, the hot flashes, the night sweats. Sleep, it increases our production of melatonin. So when you have decreased estrogen in the body, it decreases the melatonin. So that's why we fall into that place where we can fall asleep, or maybe we can't stay asleep, or maybe we can't fall asleep at all, and we're getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep at night. And that's not going to be conducive to being productive at work the next day. So that lack of sleep affects just about everything, your cognitive ability, your ability to function the next day at work. It just plays such a big role. And then not only that, you can't sleep, but you're waking up in a drench in a puddle of sweat. And that's just uncomfortable. And I don't know if anyone else experiences this, but when you get the hot flash, you almost get a sense of anxiety sometimes. Like you feel uneasy, unnerved, depending on how intense it can be. So that just plays a role in how we function daily at our jobs. And then also our skin. So our vaginal tissues, that vaginal dryness, the elasticity of the vaginal tissues. Sometimes sex can become uncomfortable and painful. We have the decreased sex drive. So as you can see, this is just a few of the spaces where estrogen plays and matters so much in our bodies as women. So from cause to symptom. So we kind of addressed this from the last slide. We have that hypothalamic disruption, thermostat disruption from the low estrogen. So that leads to the hot flashes and night sweats, the regulation of the serotonin and the regulation of that dopamine being released. That leads to the mood changes, the anxiety, the depression. We talked about sleep. We also just talked about, touched on decreased estrogen in the brain memory centers. So I know that one of the scarier parts is the memory loss. For me, I used to remember the numbers of my debit card. That's how good I was. Like, I don't know what it was about that. I just didn't like having to take my card out sometime. I used to be able to just remember the number, remember the expiration date, and remember everything. Now I'm like, am I like, at first I was like, am I like having early signs of dementia? It was really scary. And some women may feel like that. Like you may feel like I am losing my mind. Like I am going crazy. I can't remember the simple things that I used to be able to remember. I see someone out in the street and I'm like, I know her. What is her name? And, it's all a part of those, the decreased estrogen in our body that affect our cognitive centers and those neurotransmitters. Next slide. So the workplace impact, how does this impact us at work specifically? So 94% of women will report at least one menopause symptom affecting their workplace performance. So whether that's, hey, I'm having hot flashes, the big one is always the brain fog and forgetfulness, the overwhelming and the anxiety. But like I said, sleep disruption is a big one because if you're not sleeping at night, if you can't, get a good night's rest, you typically can't function in any capacity, in any form. You're not at work, not at, with your family. You're trying to spend time with your family or your husband and you're not present because you're exhausted. The mood changes. New onset depression is 2.5 times more likely in this transition. So, you don't even want to get out of bed. You don't have the urgency to do anything. And then the reduced confidence. So 29% report significant loss in self-confidence at work due to these symptoms because you feel like I'm not on my P's and Q's like I used to be. Like you just feel a sense of lack of confidence and self-awareness because of everything that's going on. You feel like something is changing in my body. I know something's wrong with me. And sometimes people around you may not understand the shift, but I know no one knows our bodies like we know our own. And that's why I always tell my friends and family, advocate for yourself as well. And I would kind of discuss this in other spaces where patients feel like they talk about these things with their care provider and maybe those symptoms are kind of pushed to the side or they're not heard and they just kind of shrink and just be like, well, I guess I'm supposed to just push through it. And that it shouldn't be like that. I don't care if you've been with the provider for 20 plus years, they delivered all my babies, and I know you want to stay loyal, but if you feel like you're not being heard, and even after advocating for yourself for multiple times, maybe it's time to maybe shift and get a second opinion and go somewhere else. I hate to be that person, but you want to be where you be in a place where you're feeling heard, where you feel seen, and that you can get the proper care that you need. So the real costs, and Renee kind of touched on this already, But the Mayo Clinic did this survey back in 2023 that showed how much money is being lost annually from absences, reduced hours, layoffs, firing. People are being laid off because of they're experiencing these symptoms. Their counterparts are not understanding. You can't be leaving work this many hours just because you were sick just last week, and this week we're going to have to let you go. And that's unfortunate, that as women we have to experience that, in the workplace. 11% reported missing work in the past year. That's a lot. That's an average of 3 days missed due to menopausal symptoms, and also 15 times more likely to have adverse work outcomes, specifically women with severe symptoms, because menopause, perimenopause affects women at different levels. And it may look different for everyone. For me, I didn't experience the hot flashes initially. For me, it was more cognitive changes. It was more of the lack of sleep. And sometimes those symptoms in the beginning can mimic other things. And sometimes it can be other things. It may not always be perimenopause or menopause, but in my case, that's what I was thinking. I thought I was just stressed and, this is just life. But definitely this, bringing a new perspective and understanding and knowing your body. I saw somebody in the chat said, bring a trusted friend. So that's definitely important as well. Okay, so managing menopause. So I'm just going to highlight this a little bit, but definitely I will always say that when it comes to treating and managing menopause, it's not a one size fit all. It has to be very patient centered, patient specific, and patient focused, because what may work for one person is not going to work for another. Of course, there is hormone therapy typically, because of the lack of estrogen in the body, and testosterone plays a role in our sex drive. If we replace those things, definitely it's important you're going to get the benefits of those symptoms. But sometimes patients may not be able to take anything hormonal if they have a past history of a stroke or a past history of heart disease and a lot of other compounding factors. So before I get into that, I know it's a lot of misconceptions about HRT, and because of this World Health Organization article that came out in 2002, it was a lot of misconceptions about this, but those things have since been rescinded. I don't know if you've seen recently, a lot of the black labels for HRT has been removed, but what that test or that study was done on older women, and it was also done on older women with synthetic hormones. Okay. And that is how they determined their outcomes. So it wasn't a very productive study to generalize and put all of this black labeling on HRT. And now it's still been so many years and so many different things that have come back out about HRT, but that it's been so much more advancement and so much, we have come a long way, but it's still hard to remove that stigma from what's already put out there in the sphere, not just for the patient perspective, but even for the providers. Providers, even though they may see the new research, they may see the new evidence, but they can't take it out of their mind. So when they're approaching you with treatment options, you may have that provider that don't want to still offer you hormone therapy if you are a candidate. Then you have non-hormonal options. Go ahead.
Barika, we have a
Mhm,
question.
mhm,
Lisa has her hand raised, and so
uh-huh,
if you don't mind
uh-huh.
Hi,
answering her
yes.
question.
Yeah,
Hey,
really
Hi.
Lisa.
brief. Thank you, Dr.
Hi.
Harris. Really briefly, I'm not familiar with the
Uh,
term black labeling. Does that mean that the
uh,
medical field is discounting treatment, not saying that it's valid? Can you speak to what that
yes,
term means, please?
exactly. So black labeling would be, so recently, I'm trying to think of another drug. It's basically saying, so if, like, say, for instance, when the FDA approves something and they put a stamp on it and say, hey, we're approving this, we have done our rigorous research and it's safe to use. But if something comes out, a research comes out, a study comes out, and they find it valid, then they will put a black label on it and say, hey, yes, this is on the market, but we found that it can cause more, adverse effects than benefits to the patient. And so we're going to put this label on there so use at your own risk. Okay.
Don't they all
If that
have
makes
that
sense.
long list?
Yeah.
But
They have a list of side effects because everything has a side effect. You could take
right.
Tylenol and get a side
Okay.
effect, or
Right.
ibuprofen and get a side effect. But a black label is something different. This is, they're saying, like, we don't stand behind this. It's still out on the market, but we're telling you use at your own risk because of the research that has been put out there saying that it caused more adversities than positive benefits.
Understood. Thank
but
you.
that has been removed since.
Gotcha.
Recently.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. And as far as non-hormonal options, there's lots of options out there for with SSRIs. Those are medications that have been used for anxiety and depression, but we have found out that if used in certain dosages, women can also get benefits of helping with hot flashes. So if you don't necessarily want hormonal treatment, but I want help with my hot flashes, this is something to consider. And you can get a secondary benefit if you are experiencing some of the mood changes and different things like that. You'll get a 2-for-1, help with your hot flashes and help with your anxiety. Gabapentin is another one. And then there's a whole list here. And then lifestyle changes. Of course, gut health is so important. That's something I focus on in my practice. I always want to ask my patients, how are you eating? What is your diet like? Because our gut and our gut health affects everything from our brain to our skin to our mood. Everything is surrounded in the gut. Okay. Weight bearing exercises, of course, CBT and mindfulness can reduce hot flashes. There's a whole list of things. Acupuncture has been another thing I've been seeing a lot of patients doing. I always tell patients when they go the non-hormonal route, though, that you have to set your expectations because you may not get that 100%, but you have to understand, like, okay, instead of having 10 hot flashes a day, I may have 3 a day. And that's a win. Okay. You may not get that 100% that you're looking for, but it may decrease. Because I know when I first approached my treatment personally, I wanted to kind of stay away from the hormones at first. And I was on a supplement for this and a supplement for that. And I started Pilates and I changed my gut health and taking a probiotic. And I was taking like lots of different supplements and exercising and eating well. And I just felt like at first I was like, this is not helping. And then I stopped it all. And then all of my symptoms came back full force. And I was like, whoa, it was helping. So I may have gotten to that 85% and not that 100% I wanted, but what I was doing was really helping. But it's work, and it just takes someone to sit down with and come up with a full plan that can come up with. And non-hormonal approaches can definitely bring you about a lot of benefits. So that's all I have. I made it. Did I do it?
Yes, you did. And you did such a great job.
Because I hate going over.
No. You did such a great job. And we do have time for any questions. I do know some of the options that you provided from a kind of holistic or non-medical, non-prescription are some of the things that I've had to take advantage of because I'm not a candidate for HRT because I am an ovarian cancer survivor. And I will say the venlafaxine, I think is how you pronounce it, was very beneficial with the hot flashes and the anxiety. And, it's an antidepressant. And I never dealt with anxiety and fear and panic, and I have, and so it was a really, really good help. Acupuncture as well as another thing that I use, and chiropractic care. So thank you for bringing out those options because everybody isn't a candidate for HRT or hormonal therapy. So I appreciate that. Lisa, I think you have a question.
I do have actually 2 questions, if I may. One, I put in the chat to Rosalind. I don't think she saw it. if the deck would be available to us, because there's some slides I would love to share with my husband. He has been so
Yeah.
great through this process.
Yes.
It was so funny. He kissed me the other morning as he left for work and said
Yeah.
he was going to put an egg on me and cook it because I was heating up in the morning. So he's just been great
Uh,
about it. But one,
yeah.
is the deck going to be available? And two, thank you for sharing the options about choices not to navigate HRT, right? I'm in that
Yes.
space right now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
thankful that every time I'm in these rooms, I don't see a lot of symptoms that I'm experiencing. So I'm thankful of that. So mine's
Mm-hmm.
pretty mild, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you
Mm-hmm.
for sharing those, opportunities where we can do
Yes.
some strength training and different supplements.
Yes.
I'm on a few supplements as well that have been game changers and essential oils. So I
Yes.
just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's interesting that you brought up the partner because that's another conversation we need to start exploring. Lisa, that's awesome that your husband is super supportive, but a lot of
Yeah.
women may not experience that as they navigate, even from friends and coworkers and partners, whatever it may be. You know that you're changing, you feel a shift. I know that because, like I said, I started experiencing symptoms early on versus my friend group. I was 37 when I started experiencing symptoms. So it was hard for, I had no one to lean on really because my friends were like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I'm not going through that. So it was a lonely place. And then I had my OBGYN at that time that was telling me, oh, it's just stress. You're fine. Like, start exercising and literally did not listen to me for 3 years until I shifted and went to someone else. And she finally listened and did all of the lab work and did all of the things and really noticed that my FSH was rising. FSH is the hormone that we check to determine if you could be menopausal. And mine was elevated for someone that was my age. So, it took me finally shifting going there. But when we talk about support and partners around us, I think I saw someone put in a chat, like, what helped me is bringing my husband to my visit and having him be there and sit in. Because even me as a women's health nurse practitioner, I'm telling him what's going on with my body, and it wasn't clicking. Not until he kind of sat down with me and heard it from my provider did he be like, he walked away from that visit like, okay, I understand. I get it.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad that, and that's a great idea, is
Yeah.
to take our significant others, our partners, with
Mhm.
us. Are there any other questions before we transition to
Mhm.
Dr. Shay? We probably have time for
Well, I saw where
one additional
Catalina
question.
said is bringing a trusted friend with you to the doctor, something you found successful in your experience. And
Mhm.
so, yes, you're saying
Yes.
it is.
Just,
Oh,
I just wanted to just share. I would also appreciate the slides, and thank you so much because I literally, as a nurse, as a lawyer, meeting with patients with dementia, there were moments when I thought I was having
Mhm.
issues, and it was scary.
Yes,
So I
yes.
really appreciate that. And I know for me this year, I did a detox, a real detox, and that really
Mhm.
helped me. So yeah,
Yes,
because I
yes.
think they say your gut is a second
Oh,
brain. So it helped
yeah.
me with the
Mhm.
brain fog. So thanks
For
again.
sure. For sure. Yes.
oh, wow. All right. All right, with that, and as I said, this is for education purposes. I think earlier at the top of the call, I said entertainment. This is not entertainment. This is full-fledged education from trusted advisors. So I apologize for saying entertainment. No, this is education. All right, so now I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Shay. She's been a practitioner with over 26 years of experience in healthcare. She earned her Doctor of Nursing from Villanova University and has spent more than a decade educating undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral nursing students. She is the founder of Holistic Wellness Solutions, a concierge wellness practice personalized, functional modalities, and holistic care. She specializes in corporate wellness coaching, lifestyle optimization, and natural menopause management, helping individuals and organizations improve health and resilience and overall well-being. Through her work, Dr. Shay empowers people to take charge of their health by addressing the physical, emotional, and lifestyle factors that influence wellness. She believes that every single person deserves the opportunity to live an authentic and vibrant and whole life. Her mission to help people move beyond symptom management, address root causes, and live healthier, higher quality lives with intention and purpose. And so this is going to be a little bit different because Rosalind and Dr. Shay are going to have a conversation. So, Rosalind, I turn it over to you.
Yes, I am so excited to have Dr. Shay with us. She is, I listen to her videos, I follow her on IG, and if you've been a part of DPI community, some of you I know that you are new, we always well vet who we want to like speak into our community. And every single Wednesday I get a video from Dr. Shay that says, well, it's on IG, but I feel like it's just for me. And she says, "Hi, friends." And when I hear that voice, I just know that I'm in good hands and I'm going to get great information. And so, Dr. Shay, welcome. You can take yourself off mute. And we're so thrilled to have you. She is a part of our chamber. She has spoken many a times. As Barika was covering some of the different solutions that we can have. I know that you are very much into the holistic aspect of caring for the body. So, kind of add or supplement into what she said in regards to our menopausal symptoms of how we're able to have some solutions.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Barika, for that extensive piece. That it was amazing. Things I have never heard of before. Things that I have. I only wish to increase our knowledge to take this further because menopause in the workplace is real. In our own lives, it is real. It moves beyond home and it is transitioning to where we work and do our businesses. Um, so, about 11 years ago, at the age of 42, I had some breast surgery, and they were papillomas, which are, they come from dense breast tissue. I had to have them removed. They were benign, thank God. I was living in Sarasota at the time. And then 5 years later, I ended up having a total hysterectomy because I also had fibroids that had grown that were causing extreme pain, extreme menses. I was done with children, thank God. A lot of people don't have that benefit. And I had a hysterectomy at the age of 47. And the rest is history. I was put into surgical menopause because I had that uterus removed, although I still had my ovaries. It wasn't as severe as I anticipated. So I was on this mission to help myself naturally. This is how I got started with managing menopausal symptoms for myself. And I thought, I can't keep this secret to myself. I have to really educate the community, the women that I am in touch with, that I work with, that I reside with, my community. I wanted to be able to teach them how to do this, whether it was naturally or with other treatments. Like Barika said, it's an individual approach. I think psychology says when women face constant stress and uncertainty in their bodies, we learn how to live in survival mode, right? We are just trying to just make it through, get through the next work day, get through the next family meeting, get through the next whatever it is. And, we are oftentimes left exhausted. And as Barika talked about, our hormones, our estrogen and progesterone are being depleted. So that leaves us more vulnerable to other outside risks, like the metabolic syndrome, like the hot flashes, like the brain fog, the cognition. Even in moments of calm, our minds don't relax. We're women, we're major caretakers in our communities, in our homes, in our high powered jobs. We can't relax. And it's because our nervous systems have forgotten what safety looks like. So just imagine being at work and you are tasked with a very important job or responsibility, and you're having an irritable day and you don't know why, or you can't remember the name. I know we talked about remembering our children's names, but you can't remember the name or the process that once worked for you and how to use it. So I think, more than anything, thank you, Rosalind. We have to really start speaking and educating and talking about how menopause in the workplace is going to be really significant in the very near future.
Okay. Well, how can we, if we are, there could be some on this call that are actually in a workplace and they have a boss, or even us as business owners, and we're dealing with different clients and we're in different situations. How are we able to just normalize the conversation without feeling that we're oversharing, right? So if I start sweating, which happens to me often, unfortunately, if I start sweating and my fan is not next to me, how do I, you know, really kind of get an accommodation for myself and let have a voice to say, hey, I'm walking through this season of life and I need you to just, I don't know, help us, Dr. Shay. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of our preparation begins before we get to work. And when we are recognizing that we are going through the change, that season, is it hot in here or is it getting hot in here? I know Barika did a talk on that last night. We have to manage ourselves. So I came up with Embalias, that's my middle name, Mosaic for Masterful Living. And this is a process that I put in place about 3 years ago for myself because consistency is key. We have to understand that starting your day the same and ending it the same time at night, because preparation for your workday is so important. We start preparing the night before so that we're not put in a situation at work where we're frazzled, where we have to come up with this is what's happening. Starting to prepare for sleep, I speak to the chamber often about sleep hygiene and what that looks like. Just like we bathe, physical hygiene, there is a sleep hygiene, engaging in activities before bed that help us to really rest our brains, especially when insomnia is creeping up. I call it bookending my day. So I'm starting my sleep hygiene at the same time every night, and I'm waking up at the same time every morning. I think, journaling also before work, meditating, because once you hit work, you can't even go back to try to process what you need to be doing. And I think in those instances where you are taking time for yourself and maintaining a balance outside of the workspace, you are prepared to go in. And for the women, and I think, Rosalind, to your point, what if you're in a situation and you experience, a hot flash or, something is happening that is really acute? I think being able to pause and asking for time to return to the conversation at a later date that is in the near future.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you. I want you to go a little bit further into that sleep hygiene because I know you have that 10 hours before you go to bed. You have that number. Tell us about, I can't remember all the numbers, but
Okay.
every time I go to grab a cup of coffee in the afternoon, I'm like, Dr. Shay would not be okay with this. But
Well, it's the 3-2-1-0 approach to
yes.
preparing for sleep. And 10 hours before you're preparing for sleep, you want to stop with stimulants And I'm speaking about your coffee, your cokes, your sugars, the things that stimulate you 10 hours before sleep. Because our brains, as women in this perimenopausal phase, thank you, Barika, for specifying that menopause is one day. It is the one day that occurs after your 12-month cessation of a menstrual period. Menopause is one day. All the things that are happening before are the perimenopausal period, the brain fog, the cognitive changes, the insomnia, the night sweats, the day sweats, the anytime sweats. Menopause is one day. And then you're postmenopausal. So
Mhm.
then we're dealing with a whole nother set of situations. So that's the 10 hours before sleep, cutting out all stimulants.
Mhm.
3 hours before sleep, hide your phone. I know as high power professional business women, we don't want to miss a ding or a ting or, whatever it is. The back blue light of any screen is going to keep your brain wired.
Mhm.
So we want to be able to disconnect and disassociate from that type of stimulation at least 3 hours before.
Mhm.
1 hour before sleep, you want to make sure you're in the space to rest. If it's reading, if it's journaling, if it's meditating, if it's just quiet time, that's what I call it,
Yeah.
1 hour before sleep.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
0 is your reset. 10 hours before sleep. Yes, Renee, 10 hours before sleep, no stimulants. And
No.
the stimulant list can go on.
Yeah. Um,
Sugars, your donut, your snacks, your desserts, your whatever it is.
Dr. Shay, we want our little sweet treats. What are you saying? But I understand. No, but
Well,
I understand.
nothing is absolute. So I
Yeah.
don't use always or never, but if it's a Saturday night and you want to have your wine or your
Which is a
cocktail,
stimulant.
which is a stimulant, it's a
Okay.
Saturday night, you're not going to work
Hmm.
before uh,
Hmm.
you know, on that weekend or
Hmm.
so and I use this technique really for preparing for the workday
Yes.
because we are already, you know, thinking about what is to come in the workday.
Yes. Hmm.
So preparing to wind down
Yes.
the night before. That's why I say preparation is key, consistency is key, and realizing what works for you
Mhm.
as an individual woman is really important because
Yes.
my hot flashes didn't start until I don't know Christmas time. I had everything else, I had my hysterectomy. I was fine. I was, having a good time. Um, and I changed my eating habits about 6 years ago, right around the time I had the hysterectomy. We know that 80% of our health and our immune system lies in the gut. So what
Mm.
we're eating and taking in, um, it has an opportunity to sleep us or wake us.
Mm.
So, gut health is so, so important. And I teach that in my practice as well. The number one thing I do teach is sleep and understanding how to sleep well. And the other thing I teach is I do nutritional coaching because we're really killing ourselves with the things that we're taking in.
Okay.
Dr. Shay, I have a question
Yeah.
because this came through. I know you said the 3210, and someone asked number two, what does that mean?
10, 3, 2, no, 10, 3, 2, 1, 0. Oh, I forgot the two.
Yeah, you forgot the two. Yeah, we got the one and the 10 and the
The
three.
two is no beverage. No
No
beverage two
beverage.
hours before because we're already getting up to go to the bathroom, maybe sometimes, So nothing to drink 2 hours before you are planning to sleep. So, I also teach water hygiene, half your body weight in ounces a day. So you want to start your drinking early so that that bladder is nice and relieved 2 hours before you are heading off to bed.
And I
And I do
agree.
like what, oh, I'm sorry, Rosalind, but I like
Yeah,
what
what
Latifah
Latifah,
said. Yeah, yes.
yes,
Because you
because
know, you and I, Rosalind, used to watch FBI on CBS.
yes, my husband watched FBI right before bed, and my heart is like pumping, like, who's gonna die? Are they gonna get the bad guy? So I absolutely agree with that comment. But taking this back to, and thank you for sharing that about the sleep hygiene and those numbers because they're very effective in helping us wind down 1 hour before I say hush the house, and my husband's like, what is hush the house? But it is like getting that very calming feeling. What mindset for us as business leaders, as women who are going through this change, what mindset shift can we have for us to understand that although we're going through this transition, our best days are in front of us. We are still able to lead, we're still able to grow, and that we're still able to thrive in that workplace, whether it's us owning our own business or actually working inside of an office for someone else. What is that mindset shift that we need to have as women?
Yes, thank you. I think it's really important to understand that menopause, the menopause transition period, the perimenopausal period, is no longer a private issue. So being able to be informed and speak to it amongst this community and your own communities is important because we have to continue to educate and not let it be a stigma
Mhm.
that is occurring. So I think information, not keeping it private, it's not simply a well-being topic, right? Oh, workplace well-being. No, it's not it. It is actually something that is necessary. I believe the workforce is going to be forced to take this beyond a well-being topic or workplace. You're not going to have a speaker come in and just talk about the well-being of everyone because women, we are a unique species. And I think being able to stand on that and highlight and really understanding that there's not a single symptom. It is comprehensive and it's women specific. I remember being at work and my manager was visiting to do I guess, I don't know if it's called a drive through or drive up or an assessment. I don't know what it was. But when I was walking down the hallway at the hospital, she noticed through my clothing, I had a big red spot on my lab coat.
Mhm.
And she was like, "Oh my, like you have to go home immediately." And I'm like, "Well, what's happening?" And she took me aside and I knew I had been bleeding like a fish for a while. This is around the time where I was, about to have my hysterectomy and I mean, I was double bonded, everything. I had everything on, all the support, but I still bled through my white lab coat at the time. And she was so supportive. She was so compassionate. And she was a woman. And I'm not saying men don't understand that, but I am saying that we have to remember that not everyone is going to understand what we're going through even with the brain fog. We carry significant responsibilities at work. Could I have gone home at that day? I did go home, but in some instances, I've heard women share that they were told to, I don't know, not suck it up, but probably a nicer term, but it probably means the same thing. Um, I think someone said, you're being too sensitive. That's what they were told. You're being too sensitive, with the emotions that are happening, with the brain fog, or you may need to take some time, right? So, they show up in decisions. Our focus is kind of blurred. Our energy is a little bit depleted. That's why I say preparation begins at home. And
Okay.
every day we have to be intentional about preparing for the next
Okay.
day.
So I'm going to ask one last question because I intimately know some women that are on this call and they are in the midst of seeking treatment options and they are exhausted by the information they see on social media that they get from their doctor, which can conflict with what they're getting from the acupuncturist or so how does a woman decide what is right for them? Because as Barika said, each of us are so unique. We know our bodies. We know when something's not right. And I remember, going to a doctor and him, telling me, I said, "Hey, I feel this," and he's like, "Well, why we got to put a label on it?" And I was just trying to understand, where am I? Am I peri? Am I post? Like, which stage am I in? So, how do we as women make the right treatment options for us?
That is a very good question. And what I can say is, I read this book about 3 years ago. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And because we are all so different, you really have to continue to talk and find your provider that is going to be your person. And it may take some searching.
Mhm.
It may take searching. I do testosterone optimization for men and women, but I think an astute provider is going to not conduct an interview. They are going to engage in a relationship with you. And, not just checking off of boxes, but really asking questions about your life. And you become partners in the journey. I always say I have all of my clients are VIPs because they're all individual and they are all treated with utmost top tier respect and care when they walk through the doors because it is a sensitive topic. It is rough, especially for men who are having erectile dysfunction. That is comparable to women who are, in their stage of wherever they are in the perimenopause transition period.
Mhm.
So I think it's a definitely an individualized approach. I also
Mhm.
believe that wellness is a mindset and a lifestyle. So a lot of people, most often, people are ready to do something that's quick. Um, I like Barika's introduction to the various methods.
Mhm.
But Rosalind, I practice holistic medicine.
Yeah.
And I also, and I started that because I had a client who came to me who was a breast cancer survivor, and I knew she could not have HRTs. So we did a natural path for her,
Yeah.
and it worked out. So I think it's basically what you are looking for, and it's up to the provider to walk the journey with you and explain to you what the options are.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Shay. And again, I'll put back up the slide with the information to follow you because I'm telling you, I live for that hello, friends. I just need that in the middle of my week. Renee, I know we have 3 minutes left, but I wanted you to close us out, or if there's any
Yes.
questions that we have for Dr. Shay.
Yeah,
Yes,
do
I
we
have
have
a
any?
question.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, so I know that I am going through, I don't know if it's peripost, but some kind of pause. But one of the things I can honestly say is I have typically no sex drive whatsoever. So I spoke to a friend of mine, and she said, I was going through the same thing. I went to my doctor, and she prescribed a shot for me, and she went on and on and on and on. She said, I'm doing great. Everything is fine. But for me, I am not so keen about, putting anything in my body. So my question is, should I just let it run its course? Will that come back? My sex drive come back? Or should I go out and get some kind of treatment? My husband is cool with it. He knows what I'm going through, so he's not like crazy about it. He's like, let's just see what happens. So what should I do? Should I go get something or just wait till it wears over?
Can I
All right.
chime
So
in here too?
Yes, yes,
if you don't
Barika, for
mind.
sure.
So, when it comes to approaching a little bit more about treatment options, because it's varied, one of the things, because I heard you say that I don't want to put something in my body, but the thing is, it's typically when we're talking specifically about sex drive, there's a lack of testosterone. So the testosterone has depleted. Now, estrogen plays a role in that as well. And we're just talking about just replacing something that was already there. Okay. So it's not like we're giving it when you were doing, that's why it's called replacement, because the estrogen has gone down. The just like if your vitamin D was low, okay, and you needed vitamin D, you'll take a vitamin D supplementation. If your iron is low, you take iron supplementation. And those things, so if your testosterone is low, so I don't want you to feel like you have to trudge through it and like, let me just push through it, because there is help. Okay. There is natural ways you can replace that. It may not get you to that 100%, but there's things that you can do, and, uh, herbs and different things like that. But definitely replacing the testosterone will definitely help. And I always say, ask your provider, what are my personal risk? Okay, because that will look differently for everyone. And then what would be the best option for me? What I always do is I lay all of the options out for my patient, and I want them to say, based on what I feel will be good, based on their history and different things like that, and we can go the direction that they feel the most comfortable with. Okay. And I would
Okay.
just leave this at saying at the end, because I don't know if I have a time to another moment to speak, but I always like to tell my patients, because I know this can be a heavy conversation, that let's not try to look at this as a loss when we're going through menopause. This is just a time of redefining and redefinition. Okay. And most, if not all, women feel a lot better on the other side. Okay. I hear someone, she's a personality online, and Deborah Bevy Smith, she has a book that calls It Gets Greater Later.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's champion that, because I know it's a lot of heaviness surrounding this as well, because we struggle with a lot. But listen, this is just a redefinition. We're not aging, we're just transitioning. And it's a lot of it's a lot of apprehension and scariness when it comes to information out there, and but find that trusted provider that you trust and lean on that, because the information is not going to stop. And that doesn't mean all information out there is good information, but we have to find what is worth best for you, and patient centered for you, and patient focused for you. So I would just leave with that.
Thank you so much, Barika. Thank you for that question. We are at the top of the hour. It is noon, and so we want to value your time. We do have two upcoming events that are coming, pricing for profit, as well as turn AI into cash webinar. There'll be more information regarding those. Dr. Shay and Barika, thank you so very much for the information that you have shared. If we can just give a round of applause. I know some of us are off camera, but even in your space, if we could just give a round of applause for these women taking time out of their day to spend with us, to inform us, to educate us. Thank you so much. This ends
And
our
our
webinar.
well, in the chat is our link. If you have enjoyed this content, please leave us a review. It helps
Yes.
others discover us and this type of content. Our contact information is here. But yes, to Dr. Shay and Barika, thank you so much. And for all of you for being engaging and listening and giving up a part of your day, we appreciate you.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Bye bye, everyone.